wow, Jacob, we're sitting here in this nice lounge room, and we're waiting for our camp pizza.
Yeah,
and we're
because every church camp has like that pizza night that they like is like their main event.
Yeah, and they really hype it up. They're like, hey, if you win this game, you're going to be first in line for pizza. And then it actually turns out that you and the table that gets that, if you pray, you and your table gets to cut in front of that group that won the game. So, but somebody else got the super duper front of the line pass that they handed out for the night one game.
Because they were the pastor's kid.
Yeah, and the pastor's kid gets to go first because he's got a food allergy. And so, as it turns out, you actually, even if you got told you're going to go first, you're actually not going to go first.
You're going to actually last.
But it's okay because the first shall be last and the last shall be first, Jacob. All right, cut the bit.
Today, guys, we're talking about church camps.
Yeah, we're talking about church camps and youth retreats and
all
whatnot.
the wazoo.
Yeah, all of those. And we're going to talk about do we think they are manipulative or not? Well, Jacob, what do you think? Are they manipulative?
I think there are some that are manipulative and some that aren't.
That's a good way to say it.
Because I feel, and I don't feel like they're trying to be manipulative in some ways, but it's the whole thing where you are basically the entirety idea of church camps, and I think right now is the worst part of it is they're almost seen as like their entire purpose is to make you have a spiritual high.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. Like, yeah, you should have a spiritual high. But like also, you should try to balance that out, and you shouldn't only go to church camp because so then you will do it. And also, church camps are usually like they're kind of for I would say not Creasters, if you don't know what that term is, Christmas, Easter Christians. Mm-hmm. It's a term that's
derogatory.
But like it's almost kind of like that where you have the people who like go to church right at Christmas and then they keep on going for like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they do that. It's like, I'm going to start reading my Bible. I'm going to start.
Yeah. I agree with what Jacob's saying. Like even before we even get to the manipulation point, I don't think most church camps are designed for kids who already read their Bible every day and are in the Word and are praying and are active in their church. There can be camps for them. And I have been to camps before that are designed that have more of like a leadership aspect to them as opposed to kind of just like a learning about God aspect. Mm-hmm. But I've also been to many camps that their main focus is, hey, let's get people to convert. And that can be good if you do it right. But the goal isn't to make the conversion an emotional experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that when you convert to Christ, it shouldn't be emotional. Because that's not what I'm saying.
Is that you're trying to make an environment that is going to be...
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is going to get really weird, but it's like Disney World. The entire idea of that park is to make you have like a magical experience. Mm-hmm. It's the same idea.
Yeah. I mean, for lack of a better analogy. Because... like it's like, we're gonna have you run around all day, and we're gonna give you good food, and we're gonna make sure you're tired because you're only gonna get 5 hours of sleep every night, and then by the last day, you're already tired out, your emotions are thin, and I mean, yeah, you're gonna get the somber music and everything, and I don't doubt that many people have genuine conversions there, because here's the thing about conversion: it doesn't really matter where you are when you convert. It's that you're meaningful in your conversion and the steps you take afterwards. Because, like, you can be in a super non-doctrinally sound church but convert to Christ and then continue to grow outside of that church. But it's one of those where I think a main issue that you run into a lot is there can be students at those type of camps and retreats that they're just doing it because their friends are doing it, or they're just doing it because the lights are dim and the music is loud, or they're just doing it because this or that. I think there can be times where the Holy Spirit definitely uses that. And I mean, I got saved at a retreat. I think it was less of one of those type of retreats and more of like one of the kind of more spiritual, like kind of a more like spiritual training camp as opposed to like a super fun jam-packed trip.
Back to what I'm saying. church camps can also be seen as where like there's not as many people watching you, especially at church-related activities. Like
Yeah.
you can do a lot more at a church camp than you can do at a because there's a lot more kids you have to pay attention to, and a lot more kids to handle. I gotta say that church camp specifically. Do you remember the pizza being really good though?
Yeah.
What was that pizza? It might have had crack in it.
Yeah. I think it's additionally kind of like the spiritual stuff though. Like you're tired out, you're not
Hungry.
you're not on 100% locked in. And so because of that, I think yeah, it could be one of those that the food just tastes better because like I'm sure if you were in the desert for 2 weeks and then you ate
pizza.
a McDonald's sandwich, it would suddenly taste like the best thing you've ever eaten, and you wouldn't ever be able to like get to that point again because it's the same thing.
And I
Like,
bet it was also kind of thing where like church camp food. I'm not gonna say that like it can be good at some points, but there's no way it's gonna be like I've never had church food where it is the best thing. So or like I think it's also this might actually also play into the spiritual thing. Theoretically, this church food isn't the best, and then I eat a piece of pizza that's from like an okay pizza place, right? So I'm gonna think, oh, this is really good. Same thing with spiritual things. Sometimes these camps I've seen they have like one really like they have one service or two services a day, one late at night. What basically it's doing is it's condensing all that spiritual energy into one moment and slightly manipulating you into like being more. Also, they're late at night, so you're already tired.
yep.
So it's all that they're.
All right, so Jacob, to flip flop this. So we've said what we don't like about church camps. Let's say what we do like about church camps.
I think I've seen really good church camps, like the one we went last time, where they have like activities, like spiritual activities every single day. And most of the day is that. Like you barely any break time, which I like because it's fun to have break time. But it's also fun to be like have a super cool experience. And I think it might also be that it was also a winter camp, which can also play into why you didn't have as much free time. But I liked it because it was mostly about how like we're going to talk about spiritual stuff, and this is for leaders and.
Yeah, student leaders to clarify.
Student
Like
leaders.
it's to build you up in your faith. I think a thing that I've seen several camps do well, not just the one that Jacob is talking about in particular, but I've seen several camps do well, is like giving a variety of speakers and giving a variety of different types of spiritual experiences. So like that sounds very loosey-goosey, but like what I'm saying is so if you have one main speaker, that's great. But what I've liked in the past is having maybe 3 or 4 speakers. Like, let's say it's a 5-day camp, 3 or 4 speakers. So there's probably 8 times that everything will. You know. So each speaker might get 2. Maybe one of them gets 3. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. If you have 3 or 4 speakers, and so because of that, then it's kind of instead of we're gonna hear from the same guy 6 or 7 times when we're here. It's we're going to hear from this person and hear their story and what they got out of Scripture here. And then, yeah, because they're going to get two sermons, maybe it'll be 2 nights in a row or maybe a morning and an evening or something, they can kind of follow up on the points they were making the first time. But it also helps because it's not, the kids aren't just going to be like halfway through the week and be like, oh, we got to hear from so-and-so again. And I think that's great. And then the other thing I was saying was like different spiritual experiences, which I think can sound very new age and everything. But what I mean by that is allowing time for small groups, allowing time for outside prayer, allowing time maybe just to sit and listen to music, like Christian music or something, and having that be like an incorporated part of the day. So instead of always having it jam-packed with regular, like, fun activities, like if it's a summer camp, swimming or whatever, but actually having time for we're gonna spend this hour and you can either go pray here or go do this there or kind of taking more time to do spiritual things that aren't just let's sit and listen to chapel.
Because like especially in small groups there is a thing where like sometimes it'll be like okay you have like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and no small. I'm not. I should rephrase that. Yes, you can get. You're gonna get stuff out of a 10-minute small group. You're gonna get more stuff than if you didn't have that small group.
Yeah.
But for every minute longer you have in that small group, that's exponential growth.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'll just say the church that Jacob and I go to, we get pretty regular time to do small group stuff, and occasionally we'll get like a whole hour to do small groups, or pretty close to that, maybe 50 minutes. And that's when I would say you get a lot of spiritual growth, because yes, you're going to get some spiritual growth from when you're listening to the sermon or when you're listening to worship, but when you're sitting and talking to other Christian well, for instance, for us it's guys, but even for girls, I'm assuming it's similar, but where you're listening to what they've gone through, what they've struggled with, things like that, and then being able to apply that to your own life. And yeah, it can be fun. You're gonna goof around and everything a little bit. But like when it's 10 minutes, almost all that 10 minutes is gonna be goofing around. But when it's 50 minutes, maybe only that first 20 minutes is gonna be goofing around, and then you're gonna get serious because you've got a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so I think that can be a key and vital and like section to any time that you're doing a small group or even Bible study, and it lets you kind of dig a little deeper. And so I think that's why, like, for instance, I think some of the best camps I've seen take a lot of time to do small groups in addition to doing like a service, because I always enjoy doing small group questions after hearing a sermon, because I want to talk to other people. Even if I'm in a small group with people I've never met before, I want to see what they got out of it. Because if we just sat through a 25-minute sermon,
Yeah.
we're all going to have gotten different stuff out of it.
Yeah.
No one person is going to have gotten the exact same thing out of it that the person sitting next to them is going to get. What do you think, Jacob?
I agree with your point. And while you're saying stuff, I was also thinking about this. With these, usually when you go to summer camp, sometimes it is your one church. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's multiple churches, a huge group of people, like let's say like 200 people. Mm-hmm. And then there's always these things that they do, especially at the camps I'm thinking of, where I don't think we hit on this when we're talking about like the stuff that we don't like, where there's this almost like this peer pressure. Mm-hmm. Like it's like everybody is, okay, we're gonna put this, when people go up to the altar, that is a choice. Mm-hmm. But sometimes when like everybody goes, it'd be weird.
Yes. I think I very briefly mentioned that, but I agree. Before you make your point, I hate to interrupt, but yeah, I agree with that peer pressure being a problem, because I've seen it before where it can be tricky, and I especially see it with younger students. You know, like let's say it's a high school camp. I see it obviously a lot more with freshmen than I do with seniors, where it's, oh, 3 of my friends went up, so I'm going to go up just because they went up. And that's not a good reason to go up to the altar or to raise your hand for prayer or something like that, just because other people are doing it. Obviously, if you're feeling the Lord prompt you, or you feel that you need to do that, then you should do that. But I agree that can be a major issue. Now back to your point that you were making.
I'm saying like when they're doing like those huge, like where everybody's getting saved, that's where the issue is. It's that you are telling kids that if they don't, kind of in a way, you're telling kids if they don't get saved, they're going to be left out. Mm-hmm. And in our generation, it is a big fear for people.
Oh, yeah.
Not being left out. So I think if I would rather have somebody get saved in a smaller group than a bigger group.
I agree.
Where they don't get the pressure from like the huge crowd.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great way to segue that together, because I agree. I think now I want to reiterate this. I got saved at one of these camps, and I went up to the altar in like that kind of big group style. So I don't doubt that many people have perfectly valid salvations from that type of situation. Jacob and I are just saying what's going to be the most helpful to ensure that there's not going to be lukewarm Christians, or even people who think they're saved but aren't saved. And so the thing there to keep in mind is definitely what Jacob was saying. Like, I have good friends who they've gotten saved at camps, but it's from more of like a one-on-one or a small group conversation. Like, hey, what that pastor said really spoke to me, but let me hear more about this. then you're kind of more explaining to them what Christianity is and why they should get saved than, oh, everybody's doing this, let me do this too. So, yeah. Yep. So the last thing I wanted to do is, why don't we come up with our ideas of what we think like an ideal day schedule would be at like a church or a church camp or retreat.
Okay, let me go first. I would at least have two sessions per day. I want the second session not to be as late at night.
Yeah.
Because I want to give time for like them to be able to condense and then go back to campus. Like maybe like it's like maybe like 8. And then it goes for like 30, 45 minutes, and then do like a 30-minute small group or or how long it can go for as how long it wants. And then, but you have to be like at your or where you're staying at the specific like 10 probably.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got lights out at 10.
Yeah, I think that would be a wonderful length of time to even if it was just 90 minutes for service plus small groups, however you split that up. That would be great. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
And then like the only times I would give for like free time is maybe like after lunch and maybe like right after the first session.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the lunchtime is probably the time where you're gonna have like the most, where it's gonna be like they need to like get out all that energy because that's gonna be like where they hit it. First session in the morning, kind of the same idea, like hour 30 minutes, and then have spiritual activities during the free times, so they don't feel forced to. And I would probably for like the sessions I don't want to like have people forced to like get saved or anything. Unless like that's like a big part of it. And like if I was to do something, I probably more wanted to be like more like spiritual adapt camp, because I feel like camps aren't just to get saved. Camps are to increase your spiritual capacity. So maybe I would do like there'd be a few things on spiritual warfare, because I feel like this is just my opinion, as Christianity as a whole, we don't really pay attention to spiritual warfare, and that's really my thing. So it'd probably be that I would like have those on like stuff that's not told much in the faith that needs to be said.
Yeah, I like that. To kind of play off what you're doing, I agree definitely with the two chapels, or two sessions, whatever you call them. But yeah, I definitely think like a morning and an evening is always good. I like the idea of kind of an earlier evening. What I would almost suggest is that you do the morning chapel a little closer to lunch, and put some free time before that morning chapel.
Oh,
because
before.
Yeah, because like if your morning chapel was from 10, like you had let's say it was 10 to 11:15. You had like long worship and then a sermon or whatever, however you split it up, and then you had a 30-minute small group, and then you go to lunch at noon-ish. I think that would be nice, because then you can have a morning free time that's more relaxed, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to, let's do a 7:30 or an 8 o'clock morning chapel, and then you're going to have a 2-hour free time before lunch. I think a little bit later chapel might be more beneficial, because then obviously you're going to get students that would give them a lot more sleep, which I think is always beneficial. And then like very optional things in that morning, see what I'm saying? So until the chapel starts, maybe you'd have like a couple of like lawn games, like some cornhole or something. That's like, if we're saying this is summer, or like even some, plus like maybe some indoor activities like some board games or like something else. But then maybe also something spiritual, like a morning Bible study or a morning prayer time or a morning devotional thing, that is totally not mandatory, totally very, because there are students, and I've been to camps before where there's a morning activity, and those can be really great times to grow spiritually, because then you're taking that opportunity in the morning to kind of dig a little deeper, but then it's not required like the chapel or the session might be. And then I agree, like, so probably that after lunch would definitely be a great time for free time. And even you could just do from lunch till dinner. So like a nice long, like really you'd have like one real free time in the day from the lunch to dinner time. And I mean, you could put like some sort of required fun in there, like like maybe like 3:30, everybody's going to go do this or that. But a nice block of free time, and then obviously a dinner, and then after dinner, I mean, you'd probably have 2 hours before that evening session. But I think that would be a great time to do, like, to have some sort of like maybe something like indoors with your small group or with your church group or however like if it's just one church that's at this camp, then yeah, obviously you like your small group. But if it's a multi-church camp, then maybe your church or however they want to split that up. But I think that'd be a great time to do like maybe like some not necessarily get to know you game, but more kind of team building type games. But yeah, I think we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
So I would like to say thank you to our Patreon supporters, JJ Sebastian, Sam Shakmaev, and Josiah Keller. And thank you to our friend of the show, Joel Webb. And I hope you sincerely enjoyed this and consider subscribing and checking out that Patreon. All right, see ya.
See ya.